the 94th Grand Battalion, or as they have dubbed themselves in the aftermath of Olympia's destruction, the Iron Shrikes, are a large warband of the 4th Legion, Iron Warriors. They have an economy dependent upon refinement of warp-corrupted promethium and consists of members from multiple grand companies, battalions, and even the naval repertoire of the dissolved 47th Grand Flight. Their warsmith since the days of the heresy is Tyranthikos Ashurbanipol, an ancient Dominator veteran skilled in the use of tactical dreadnought armor. Beginning with the detonation of the nuclear surplus of Olympia, the 94th Grand Battalion and the 47th Grand Flights of the Iron Warriors departed with thousands of captive Olympians in their holds. They saw service early in the 2nd and 3rd Black Crusades, uniting with other Traitor Legion warbands to quickly learn of the extent that chaos had ravaged their brothers in culture, mentality, and infrastructure. By now, their gregarious nature had earned them a reputation as an infallible supplier of warped promethium, a fuel concoction designed to leave polluting fumes of psychic runoff all throughout real space, creating fumes interfering with dreams and causing mechanical failure in places where dense pockets of byproduct coalesce invisibly with the dust of approaching combatants. In the centuries that saw them rendezvous with other traitors in the Eye of Terror, their gregarious nature acquired them wide and varied operatives from other legions. Noise Marines have consigned themselves in as mercenaries on behalf of their masters within the Emperor's Children. The Rusted Company have earned the patronage of the Death Guard for their sacrifices to their shared deity, and so the likes of Blight drones have been seen on the field. This practice continues to this day, and some are inclined to believe that some come from the court of the Ashen Phoenix itself. Mutation is rampant within the Shrikes, and no effort is made to prune the strange growths and stigmata that appear on those whose bodies and minds have been entrenched in warp for far too long. The dispute of iron, the Civil War, which was rumoured to have been dictated by Perturabo himself to weed out the weak, saw them gorging on the plunder of several smaller warbands and assimilating the survivors. Where once there were only 1,200 Shrikes, a full force of 2,200 were witness to ravaging systems at the peak of the Age of Apostasy's consuming madness. The presence of traitor legionnaires from outside the Fourth, as well as rivalries dating back to the destruction of Olympia, have deeply entrenched the warsmith in waging a war of economy and logistics within the Eye of Terror. Oftentimes, more than half of the warband is sent out on destructive paths carved through real space, usually alongside warbands of all colors. Their logistics trains buffer the forces of chaos who incur into real space. Oftentimes, the warriors from other warbands will be present in the companies of Iron Shrikes, their warlords using their own as a token to avert the anger of such vast regime of the 4th Legion. Many of these combatants were even recruited from scratch through rigorous gene seed implementation within Medringar's darkest complexes. Fresh-faced, but still corrupted by darkened rites of passage within unspeakable training camps, these diabolical wards of the 4th Legion gene seed implementation have made it into the latest days of the current era 42nd millennium in droves, maintaining the swollen ranks of the Shrikes along with their ancient and mad forefathers. Picking apart the remains of what resulted from one of Vandar's genocidal tantrums, they gleefully unleashed new demonic technology and understanding of warp mechanics to terrified and already demoralized Imperial forces, many of whom were ready to join the throngs of chaos in the wake of the massacre perpetrated by their own rulers. They have attended each Black Crusade in turn, though martial coercion from the Black Legion has left the Iron Shrikes on sour terms as leaders disagreed about where to take their campaigns. After many confrontations ending in bloodshed, the Iron Shrikes made it clear that while they were invested in the long war against their common foe, there would be no blackening of the Shrikes' armor to mark them as lapdogs to Abaddon. The Shrike's Nest, as it's aptly called, is an ascending mountain step whose boundless metal scrap wastes weave around the broken rocky crags that jut like needles to pierce the yawning sky of ash white, and whose dungeons descend to unknown depths where dim-lit corridors fumigated with sweat, blood, misery and damnation facilitate the work of untold laborers, slaves and dark mechanicum adepts. Harvesting and refinement machinery punctuate the space between tenebrous forests of sentient barbed wire. Often broad as the walls of citadels, those areas not in the immediate clearings, such as the work camps and refineries, are exceedingly dangerous for mortal travelers. The realm within the barbed wire is home to an obliterator cult known simply as the Ruined, a tribe of bleeding behemoths often put to use by the 94th skilled warp channelers. Varying warlords operate under the regime of the warsmith Ashurbanipal, who seems to have consigned the might of his genius to logistics within the eye, while lesser warlords carry out campaigns, raids, and coordinate with a carefully woven tapestry of other warbands and factions, most often those with a history of working with the Black Legion. Officer ranks. Wardens. The title of those who often infuse legionnaires, machines, and demons with power through the use of booming voice, voxcaster servitors, and occult powers, taught most likely by agents of the word-bearers. Their power often resonates from demonic syllables, which twist a warped transliteration of the unbreakable litany. Some wardens are indeed ex-word-bearer apostles who began their ministrations of the 4th Legion early on, using the Shrikes as a platform to spread to other warbands on Medringard. The Iron Shrikes have been known to induct all and sundry who are willing to fight on their behalf and don the stripes of the 4th Legion. They've garnered more than some hatred from their brethren on Medringard for their ranks containing the likes of Noise Marines contracted in from the 3rd Legion. They have had long periods focused on recruitment drives, a tendency that keeps their numbers marginally high. The effect warp has on time has also had an overall favourable influence on the relative speed at which they've been able to send large incursions into real space, Black Crusade or not. It's believed that some unholy favour gives the Shrikes ages of time dilation to recuperate losses and recruit from the masses of slaves at their disposal. Gene Seed. There have been attempts at splicing Emperor's children and Iron Warrior's gene seed together. The results of the study aren't spoken of. Rusted Company, the Plague Marines of the 94th possess colonies of flies that pass into, out of, and through each other's bodies as a form of warp-touch communication. Another application of this trait is in reading into the minds and souls of those who are suspected of being dissenters against Ashurbanipal, and many would-be traitors against the 94th Grand Battalion Warsmith have had their plans squashed by Rusted Company enforcers doing frequent, albeit disgusting, brain scans, ending with the Black Swarm flying back to their host just as the renegade's head disperses into red mist. Whether the Rusted Company has adopted this through some warp power that unifies them as brothers in rot, or otherwise a property of the putrefied gene seed itself, remains a mystery. It would regardless seem that an act of fate has followed Ashurbanipal to maintain cohesion and loyalty within his Grand Battalion through the uncompromising intolerance of oathbreakers and backstabbers they are held in high regard for. Warsmith Tyranthikos Ashurbanipal is a member of the Lysatra, the cultic Brethren of Thunder. His association with the secretive society of the 4th Legion is believed to have facilitated his acceptance of the Wordbearer's Dark Apostles into his organization. Taking pains to leverage the knowledge and expertise of the Wordbearer's Legion, he bolstered his rank's affinity to the ruinous powers by the completion of unholy pacts, most of which reached fruition by M34. The warped counterparts of the words of the Unbreakable Litany were divined through bloody scrying, transliterating the Gothic version of the writing into a demonically charged invocation to the Legion's ideal, similar to controlling demons by the use of their true name. Warband relics. Iron teeth. The Iron Shrike spin on the Butcher's nails, not as overpowering as the Butcher's nails, but is rigged into an intrusive cybernetic muscle enhancement weaved down the length of their spine. Those who augment with the Iron Shrike's own spin of the Butcher's nails call themselves the Razorwire Reavers. Their armor trim is often red. Many assume bestial jaguar stripes in place of the neat hazard stripes that mark the 4th. The main deviating icon of the Shrikes is a symbol of a carrion bird encircled by razor wire. It was first quietly adopted during the Purge of Olympia when 20,000 people were impaled to set an example to the locals. The punishment was believed inspired by the Night Lord's unmitigated cruelty.